My third uncle works in the province and is a department-level cadre. However, although my third uncle was a department-level cadre, my father never mentioned him to outsiders. One morning, when my mother passed by the door of the village secretary Joe Dashin's house, she was bitten by Joe Dashin's big dog. At that time, the mother had a rake in her hand, so she beat the big dog with the rake. Unexpectedly, Joe Dashin saw his mother beating the big dog with a rake. Joe Dashin came to my mother, first took the rake from my mother's hand, and then injured my mother. After my mother was injured by Joe Dashin, she struggled to get up and then told my father about the injury. After hearing what my mother said, my father first called the emergency number and then called the police. The police came before the ambulance. After the police came, they asked my mother some questions and then left. When the police were leaving, my mother said to the police, "Joe Dashin injured me, why don't you punish him?" The police said, "You said Joe Dashin injured you, do you have evidence? If you don't have evidence, how shall we punish him?" The ambulance came and took my mother to the hospital. I no longer go to school, I work in other places. One morning, I received a call from my father, who told me on the phone that my mother was injured by Joe Dashin. I said to my father, "Dad, I will take leave and come back immediately." After I arrived at the hospital, my father told me about the police's failure to punish Joe Dashin. I said to him, "Dad, you should go to Secretary Zhang and tell him that my third uncle works in the province and is a department-level cadre. Or you can call my third uncle and ask him for help." My father thought for a while and then said, "Let's do this. When your mother recovers and is discharged from the hospital, I will go find Secretary Zhang." Since I only took 3 days off, I went back to work quickly. 2 days before my mother was discharged from the hospital, I took another leave. While I was on leave, my mother was discharged from the hospital. After my father and I took my mother home, we received a call from my boss, who urged me to go back to work. So I said to my father, "Dad, I can't accompany you to find the town secretary. I have to go back to work." The morning after I left home, my father went to see the town secretary. The town secretary's surname was Yang, but my father did not see Secretary Yang when he arrived in the town. The director of the town's petition office received him. The director of the petitions office said to my father, "Secretary Yang is very busy, I have time to receive you." After listening to what the director of the petitions and calls office said, my father thought about it and then mentioned my third uncle.